Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. Micah with Coronavirus Diaries, and today I'm blessed. I get to speak with Carry Metkowski, an online coach, entrepreneur extraordinaire. The interesting thing is me and Carrie, quite a while ago now, had met while we were both in a coffee shop working basically with clients or associates, and she'd overheard me speaking with one of my friends and clients about video work, and that's how we connected. But since then, I've learned a lot about Carrie. Instead of telling everybody, I'm just going to let Carrie explain it for herself. And this is like some really good information, especially considering the times and what's happening with this online movement and all that. So, Carrie, without further ado, please share with the viewer, the listener, who are you, where have you been, what are you up to, and kind of where do you see yourself going now?
So I do online leadership coaching and also online team coaching. And so a lot of the content that I've worked on over the years has really come into play over this last several, I don't know what, almost 2 weeks that we've been in this COVID sort of quarantine. So it's been a really interesting time. So I've been working with online products, video-based products, since 2006. So for me, this quarantine it hasn't changed anything for me other than I don't go to the grocery store very much. I don't do a lot, just some of the outside stuff, because I'm more of a home-based business or online coach. My life hasn't changed a whole lot. So for me,
Welcome to the growing pains of the internet, I guess.
yeah,
You
yep.
cut out a little bit just there at the tail end, but it sounds like a lot of what you're doing hasn't changed. And so can you explain, like, really what is it like that you do, that you're online like this, that this is what your life is?
Leaders have a propensity, or all of us have this internal propensity. We have this underlying feeling that I can do better. I'm capable of doing more, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, and I'm not exactly sure I see it all at once. And so kind of like if you think of, who is the swimmer that's so good? Michael Phelps, right?
Sure.
People aren't usually shocked when they hear that Michael Phelps has 4 coaches. They think, oh, well, yeah, he's a performance athlete. And so of course he's probably got a couple coaches helping him. And what I've noticed is somewhere along the way, a lot of business professionals started adopting that mindset. Well, like, wait a second, I need to perform at a higher level as well. What am I not seeing? And so they hire me in as an outside person to really help them evaluate their game and find those 1 to 3 to 5% incremental changes that they could be making that would help improve their output, their ability to lead, their ability to influence, their ability to engage others, and just be overall more effective. And so that's really what coaching does, is it helps people perform at a higher level, both with their mindset and the trajectory of where they're headed.
Sure. Yeah, that's incredible. It's kind of the business 101. You hear people talking about mentorship. I'm curious yourself. Do you recall one of the first mentors you ever had, or maybe do you mind sharing, your own path?
Yeah, I've always had mentors. Oddly, my mentors have come to me really, really different than how I even recommend other people go get them. My mentors always came and found me, which I thought was really unusual, because usually I thought I would be the person looking out and going, gosh, I want that person to mentor me. And so I've been really, really lucky to have some powerhouse mentors, and they were just pull me aside and be like, come here, I want to talk to you for a second. My very first mentor, he helped mentor me actually into my very first executive spot. He was on the executive team already, but he overheard me a lot of times at the lunchtime conversations, and I didn't know he was on the executive team. And he would overhear me talking and problem solving. And he went to the board and he said, I think she should be on the team with us. Here's some of my hesitations. And so he really started working with me on the side. And then he'd start having me into the meetings. And then afterwards, he'd coach me afterwards. Okay, you're not picking up on this. You're not exactly seeing this. I need you to dial this way. And I'd say I think it was it might have been 9 months. that I actually got pulled onto my first executive position. And it's also very backward and kind of PC questionable, but all of the promotions I've ever gotten have been because a guy actually picked me out and pulled me up. So it's been
So,
really cool.
I mean, it sounds to me like you're leading by example, and you're doing stuff that has brought you to that level, and that's great. I mean, that's what I think everybody should aspire to, is trying to problem solve, and that's where we're at right now, and that's why this
Yeah.
is so incredible.
Yeah.
Out of curiosity, maybe if you don't mind sharing, a couple of the things, one or two of the things that were identified that helped you.
Oh, yeah.
Because right now there's somebody in my network that is transitioning to this online lifestyle. There is a steep technology learning curve. There's this steep, like, just even having your face on video is a pretty significant thing for most people, let
Yeah.
alone hearing your own voice, right?
Yeah.
I had my own experience and my own experiment that I did on myself a number of years ago, which, is neither here nor there, but I'm really curious on your own transition. You said 6 to 9 months. Maybe what was a couple of those things that really helped you ascend to that position?
Number one was being coachable, right? Being willing to take what he said, not take it personally, and then dive into it as hard and fast as I could. But then I have a hunger to learn and get those soft, not, they are kind of soft spots, right? Like, they're not things that are all the way developed. I have a hunger to make sure those spots get fully developed into practice. And so I was constantly checking back in, like, okay, I made this adjustment. Is that the right level? Is that the right place? Is that where you wanted it? And for me, some of it was attitudinal. Like, I have a pretty strong personality, and I was not reading the room well about how my attitude was coming across. And so I would have to start dialing it in, engaging. Where was I at? But then checking in with somebody else. Did you feel like I gauged that right? Did I pull back too far? Did I push up too high? Am I still not at a level that's right? And then just really being open to a lot of coaching around that, them saying, and then also the other thing he was really good about is pay attention to this person. Read this. You're missing the tell, and it's right here. Really cool for me. And then also building relationships was the other big key. I could tell it just clicked out there. Do
Yeah.
you want me to repeat those really quick?
I think we got most of it.
Okay.
It's being teachable. It's being able to have some introspect. Reading the room. It sounds a lot like I had recently done on another separate project. I had met with a comedian, a local comedian, who hopefully I'll get them on this show as well. But reading the room, it's a major aspect of that, being able to pick up on what's going on around you, being self-aware. Another friend of mine that has done stand-up, they talk about being able to get out of your own head when you go up in front of people, and you'll end up performing the best. Yep. So it sounds like a lot of what you're saying is, one, being able to listen and be teachable, but also being self-aware of not only yourself, but your surroundings.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's great. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. When I had first reached out, you had made mention that you had recently traveled and kind of your living arrangement. And do you mind breaking that down just a little bit? Because
yeah. So my family is from Oklahoma, and so my mom cares for it's not mine, it's hers, her 93-year-old step-grandfather or stepfather, my great step-grandfather. And so my mom wanted to take sort of her trip of a lifetime. She's 72, and she wanted to go to Israel. It was a big deal for her to have this sort of voyage. And one of the promises that she made to the person that we care for is that he would not go into a nursing home. And so she wanted to take this trip before she got too old, because there was a lot of walking involved. And we all kind of, as a family, kind of pulled together, and we're like, okay, we want her to make this trip.
That's beautiful.
And so
That's awesome.
I went down for 3 weeks so that she could go. And he has dementia. Really just the most amazing experience. I go down there several times a year. I go down not just to spend time with my mom, but I go down to write. It's in
Nice.
Oklahoma, and so there's not a lot to do. And so whenever I need to process something, I go spend time down there and write, because I can take coaching calls from anywhere, right? Like I can be on Zoom literally in the middle of a farm field. And that's kind of where this town is located. Farm country. Woo!
Yeah, right. Represent, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love it. It's such a small town, and it's just so great. It's like, it's roots for me, right? Like I was born in this small farming community, and I love it. You know, I think you can have roots and wings, but just spending time with him, you know, the perspective on life, seeing that end stage of life, and just having so much respect for it and honor for it, and just helping him live out his last days with as much dignity as possible. You know, him not wanting to go in a nursing home, you can't blame the guy.
Not at all. That's
It was neat.
a lot of how I believe I would like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
to roll out. So you mentioned kind of a little bit about these roots. You're finding this grounding mechanism in this. I think this is going to be something that's very important for a lot of people coming up in the future, here in the next months, and maybe a year or longer. How is it that you've managed to work from home in this? It's a very different environment than most people will be accustomed to, going into an office, having a cubicle, having the water cooler banter, having a boss that's right there.
Yeah.
How have you managed?
The transition for me came really different. Starting in about, I would say, right around, you know, the transition from the 1900s to the 2000s. I actually stopped having an office altogether. As I moved higher up into leadership and management in different companies, I'm a creative at heart. You know what I mean? So a lot of the programming that I create is film-based, video-based, and then there's the curriculum that goes along with it. And so I noticed how stifling a corporate setting could be for a creative mind. And so always whenever I signed on with a company to help them create learning management system content, I asked for permission to bring the whole team off-site as often as we needed. So 0 limits on office hours. And it's because you need to be able to run these sprints and then pause and then sprint and pause. So I just learned really early on to negotiate what was best for my team. And what was best was being out of the office. And then the other thing I noticed is creatives need a lot of fun. And so making sure we were in atmospheres that just really helped add to the synapse.
I know exactly what you're talking about. The
Yeah,
stimulus. You need stimulation. You need positivity.
Yep. And I have a lot more control over that environment. And so I started negotiating for that. Gosh, what are we, 2020? So 20 years ago, I started negotiating for this. And so I've lived outside of a corporate office for over 20 years. Now all the companies I've ever been in, they give me an office space, but everybody knows. And I train them early, I train them hard, and I train them fast right up front.
Right, yeah.
You will never find me there, ever.
Yeah, I mean, I wholeheartedly agree
just, I don't
with
think
the
performance. Yeah, I don't think your performance is as good. I think I get better performance from people when, you know, they know we're going to hit a sprint. They know that I'm going to give them downtime on the backside. They know that I give a rat's rear end about their whole family. Do you know what I mean? Like, someone's not going to show up as well if something's happening in their family that they need to tend to. And I want everybody whole, because that's where the best ideas come from, right? So
I wholeheartedly agree. Well, we're kind of coming up to that 15-minute mark. I talked to you a bit about, I'd love to make this a regular thing. Before we go, I'm going to give you, a time if there's anything else that you want to touch base on. But before that, for the viewers and listeners, how do people contact you? I'm obviously going to keep the links in the About section or have that stuff down there. But how do people reach out to you? What's your primary means?
You can always email me, but a lot of people just reach out on Instagram, to be honest with you. So it's just @ and then my name, Carry Metkowski. And then they just DM me from there and question Perfect. It. And a lot of times I think I'd like to offer your viewers this, if you don't mind too. I'm offering all of my coaching hours free right now through the entire quarantine.
What? That's incredible. Of
So all
course.
you
So
have
if
to
you're
do is
listening,
DM me. And you can get team coaching, you can get individual coaching, whatever it is you need, I'm on it. So
outstanding. Well, outside of my typical hours that I'm working, I think I have a new objective, so I'll be reaching out. But
cool.
let me know if there's any way that I can help out with you and everything that's moving
Absolutely.
forward.
Cool.
Carrie, it's always a pleasure. Thank you for coming on. I think there's a lot of really good info in here, and I'm looking forward to touching base with you here in about a week.
Okay.
Yeah, but in the meantime, all the viewers, listeners, thanks for joining us. Another episode of Coronavirus Diaries, March 24th. Wait, 25th. Oh, the days are slipping. March 25th, 2020. With that, thank you, Carrie, and we'll see you next time.